In this video, we're not going to look at just one, not two, but three separate, distinct Israeli Holocaust scholars and professors who have confirmed that what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. Now, you won't hear this from the mainstream news and politicians because of the sheer protection, their sheer allegiance to power for the sake of power. But when it comes to the actual facts on the ground, those who are actually specialists in the field, they say, as Raz Segal says, this is a textbook case of genocide. Like, just imagine, just before I go into these three separate Holocaust professors, one is Raz Segal, as I've discussed, Amos Goldberg, and of course, Omer Bartov. These are three Israeli Jewish professors, and they all confirm the same thing, much to the dismay of our politician media. Before I go into that, just imagine what they're thinking right now, they're feeling. Imagine, through your sheer conviction, growing up, studying the field for decades upon decades. And when I'm talking about, the field, I'm talking about the international law with regards to genocide. Understanding the graduation and the gradual increase of genocidal rhetoric prior to the Holocaust, where people were unfortunately and disgustingly and horrifyingly gassed alive in Auschwitz and in numerous camps, leading to millions of Jewish people being killed in a genocide. Imagine being the expert of that field and understanding and seeing and being kind of a watchdog for these, the signs leading up to this, what was considered a final solution, which of course is now being applied to the Gazan population. You can even hear, translations of, Hebrew-speaking politicians talk about this being the solution for the Gazans. But just imagine, just for these professors, and these are just a sample of these experts. Imagine, being at the top of your field, studying after decades through just sheer conviction, through understanding, being an empathetic person, but also being of an intellectual disposition, just being gaslit, seeing the attempts by the media and politicians to gaslight the population as to what is happening right now. Just imagine. And being yourself Israeli Jewish and realizing that this is a shambolic lie pushed by the media and politicians. So, when I think of, putting myself in the people, the minds of these people, it just must be like, completely infuriating. And we hear it when these scholars are talking about what is happening. For them, it's purely about facts. What is happening amongst the news and politicians, that is purely politics and the game of power. But on this channel, we care about the facts. Facts should decide politics, not the other way around. But without further ado, we're going to go through the direct sourced kind of explanations as to why a genocide is happening, starting off with Amos Goldberg. Here's an excerpt from their narration of this video that was led by donkeys from a UK-based progressive organization.
My name is Amos Goldberg. I'm an Israeli professor of Holocaust studies. For nearly 30 years, I have researched and taught the Holocaust, genocide, and state violence. And I want to tell whoever is willing to listen that what's happening now in Gaza is a genocide.
So clearly, Amos Goldberg, a person who's at the forefront of the field, he has no issue with calling it as it is. Now, who would you think is more of an expert? The liberals who are paid dark money by Israel government, or liberals who have no empathy, no real morals of their own, who side with Israel because it just seems like the safest way to go about discussing this? Or would you listen to an expert in the field, somebody who's actually neutral, somebody who's truly neutral, because of course himself being Amos Goldberg being Jewish himself? Or maybe if you don't believe in Amos Goldberg, we're going to go through Bartov. He had an interview with Democracy Now! three separate occasions where he, compounded very important parts of why this is infuriating. First, he talks about the kind of language that was used following October 7th.
Operation starting with statements made at the very beginning in October 7th, 8th, 9th by leaders, political and military leaders with executive authority, who were saying that they wanted to flatten Gaza, destroy it, that there were no people who were uninvolved and so forth. And it appeared at that point that there was actually a systematic attempt to make Gaza uninhabitable, as well as to destroy all institutions that make it possible for a group to sustain itself, not only physically, but also culturally, its identity, its collective memory.
Next, Omer Bartov makes it very clear that a genocide is happening.
A place where you don't want them, a particular ethnic group, to another place where they can be at least secure of those attacks. But of course, in Gaza, when you move people from one place to another to so-called safe zones, they are not safe there, and they do come increasingly and constantly again under attack. So that's what makes this so-called ethnic cleansing actually part of a genocidal operation.
After that, Omer Bartov kind of explores that, whilst this is very obvious to him, and it's obvious to all of us who watch this, the videos on my channel, it's infuriating because the people in power aren't really interpreting international law as according to the facts. No, they're interpreting international law according to what is politically expedient to them, which is not really international law. It's just the usage of the Genocide Convention for their own benefit. It's self-serving politics.
Obviously, first of all, the massive destruction of Gaza. Second, it means that the entire edifice of international law that was put into place in the wake of World War II and the Holocaust in order to prevent genocide ever happening again, through the Nuremberg Tribunal, through the Genocide Convention of 1948, the Geneva Accords of 1949, and so forth, and now the Rome Statute more recently, all this apparatus has been shown as meaningless if a country like Israel, supported by its Western allies, can act with impunity. And the result of this is that all other rogue states in the world could now say, well, if Israel can get away with it, why should we not?
So Omer Bartov gave a very good explanation as to why genocide is happening. In a genocide, there are no safe zones. And clearly there are no safe zones with Al-Mawasi when people are escaping to these areas. And people are bombed from one location to another location, treated like they're cockroaches, essentially. Like you have an exterminator who's trying to exterminate them. What they consider a subhuman being taken from one area to another area. Obviously, that is a textbook case of genocide. And another person who says that this is a textbook case of genocide is Raz Segal. He's one of perhaps last but not least, because he is one of the first Holocaust scholars to clearly indicate that this is a genocide.
What we're seeing now in Gaza is a case of genocide. We have to understand that the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide from 1948 requires that we see special intent for genocide to happen. And to quote the convention, intent to destroy a group as defined as racial, ethnic, religious, or national, as such, that is collectively, not just individuals. And this intent, as we just heard, is on full display by Israeli politicians and army officers. Since 7th of October, we heard Israel's president. It's well known what Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said on 9th of October, declaring a complete siege on Gaza, cutting off water, food, fuel, stating that we're fighting human animals and we will react accordingly. He also said that we will eliminate everything. We know that Israeli army spokesperson Daniel Hagari, for example, acknowledged, went to destruction and said explicitly the emphasis is on damage and not on accuracy. So we're seeing this special intent on full display. And really, I have to say, if this is not special intent to commit genocide, I really don't know what is.
So this channel, we are going to explore the facts according to the specialists, the experts in the field, but also obviously we are going to discuss our own thoughts. But it's very clear that this is the reason why, in my last video, I talked about how Dan Bilzerian is not a pro-Palestinian ally, because he doesn't talk about the facts, he talks about feelings. Even if his pro-Palestinian talking points sometimes align with those of this channel, in the end, he veers off into anti-Semitism. We do not tolerate that bullshit here on this channel. A lot of some of the most foremost advocates of the pro-Palestinian movement are Jewish, and it doesn't matter really if they're Jewish or not. It's essentially that we are all essentially the same. We do not choose where we're born. We don't choose what ethnicity we're born into. What matters is not the social constructs, but the values that you bring to the table. And the only way you can actually, distinguish between people who are making the right distinction or not is by treating them on an individual basis rather than by group identity. Groups do not act in unison like a group, like some Borg mind. That's a ridiculous racist statement. Before I end this video, I'm gonna, we've discussed 3 different Holocaust scholars, professors, tenured professors. Let's end it with one of the very biggest humanitarian charity, Amnesty International, also confirming that a genocide is happening. I'll leave you with this clip, but if you enjoy this video, please like, comment and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.
For over a year, we've witnessed utter carnage unfolding right before our eyes in the occupied Gaza Strip with no end in sight. Many have described this carnage as the first live-streamed genocide, day after day. What has your government done to prevent this genocide? What have your political leaders done? What are they doing now?